In this video, I will try to explain about the results of second house and its Lord Venus for Aries ascendants. Before we go into the results of second house and its Lord Venus, I would like to explain the characteristics of second house. Second house means family, wealth. Wealth means accumulated wealth, gold and jewelry, boyhood, childhood education, mouth, speech, speaking abilities, face means eyes, mouth, nose. All these issues are studied from the second house. As I already explained, second house stands for wealth, riches, bank balance, gold, jewelry. All movable assets come under second house. In Aries nativities, if second house Lord Venus is very strong, then the native would have all the comforts of life, would be very, very rich, and have all the luxuries at his disposal. In any natal chart, second house Lord, ninth house Lord, they together enhance the worth and value of the native in any natal chart, provided they are very, very strong. In this case, in Aries nativities, if ninth house Lord Jupiter is associated with the second house Lord Venus in second house or ninth house, the native would acquire more wealth as it would enhance the financial worthiness of the native. Again, if Venus is associated with Ketu in second house, not in any other houses, if Ketu is associated with Venus, the second house Lord in Aries nativities in Taurus in the second house itself, that means the native is bound to acquire more and more wealth. He would be the richest person. He would have all the luxuries. He would maintain a fleet of vehicles and would enjoy his life. Because Ketu is a planet of energy, and when it is associated with Venus, a natural benefic planet in second house, in its own house, it would naturally boost up the worth of Venus by hundreds and thousands of times. So when you think of wealth in any nativity, especially Aries nativity, find out if Ketu is associated with Venus in the second house. Definitely that would give vast riches to the native. Now, in any natal chart, sixth house stands for foreign elements or alien elements. Under Bhavat principle, sixth house to sixth house, that is 11th house. 11th house also inherits the qualities of sixth house. That means, like sixth house, 11th house also would display the characteristics of alien elements or foreign elements. That means, in any natal chart, sixth house Lord and 11th house Lord, they acquire the nature of foreign elements. Among planets, Rahu represents foreign elements. So, when three of them, Rahu, 6th house Lord and 11th house Lord, when they together or independently influences the second house and its Lord Venus, the native would have a new family, because the quality of alien, the quality of new would be imposed on the second house, indicating that the native may have a new family. What is new family? It indicates the native may go into adoption to another family. So when you think of looking at adoption, you have to apply and see whether they have become applicable to second house. Coming to other points, second house stands for childhood and childhood education. If separative planets like Rahu, Saturn, Sun and 12th house Lord, these four are called separation planets. If three or four of them influence the second house and its Lord Venus in Aries nativities, the native would be separated from family for the sake of childhood education. That means the native may take up his childhood education at a place other than in his hometown, indicating he may be separated from family for the sake of education in childhood. As I have already explained, second house represents face, and face means eyes, nose and mouth. That means Second house represents the vision of the native, the speaking abilities of the native, and handsomeness of the native is studied from face for anybody, right? Among planets, sun and moon represent eyes. Sun represents right eye, moon represents left eye, and second house represents eyes. That means as second house lord in Aries nativities, Venus becomes lord of the vision. Therefore, in any Aries nativity, if sun and moon are weak along with Venus, which is also afflicted besides being weak, the native may develop eye problems. In case sun is weak and afflicted along with Venus, the native may have problems in the right eye. Because I said sun represents the right eye. Moon, which represents left eye, if moon is weak and afflicted, the native may have trouble with left eye. So, for Aries nativities, it is very essential that sun and moon, which represent eyes, should be very, very strong, and Venus also should be very, very strong to have good vision. In case sun and moon and Venus, if these three entities come under the influence of separation planets like Rahu, Saturn, Sun and 12th house lord, the native may also turn blind in certain cases. So it is very essential to have all these signifying entities and Venus to be very, very strong, to have a good vision. Again, mouth also becomes part of the second house because mouth is also part of the face represented by the second house. So mouth means speaking abilities or even singing abilities. When we think of singing abilities, it comes under fine arts. Venus is a natural planet that signifies singing talent. Among houses, fifth house stands for fine arts. In this case, because we are thinking of Aries nativities, fifth house represents fine arts and fifth house lord sun becomes its representative. So, if Venus and sun are together situated in fifth house or second house or even in 10th house and are very, very strong, the native may acquire singing talents and he or she can become a singer. Even otherwise also, if Venus is strong as second house lord and well aspected by Jupiter and Mercury, I mean a strong Jupiter and a strong Mercury, the native may develop interest in musical area. The native's voice would be very, very pleasant and very, very sweet. Apart from singing abilities or musical abilities, second house also stands for speaking abilities, good communication skills, the ability to express correctly. That is what we call quality of speaking. Lawyers, judges, orators, they should all have good speaking abilities. In any chart, as I told you, second house stands for speaking abilities because mouth is represented in second house and second house lord in this case becomes representative of speaking abilities. Among planets, Mercury and Jupiter, they both represent speaking abilities. So, on a wider platform, both Jupiter and Mercury represent speaking abilities in any natal chart. As second house lord, Venus represents speaking abilities. So, if in any natal chart containing Aries as the ascendant, if Jupiter, Mercury and Venus are weak and afflicted, the native's speech may be defective. If 3 or 4 separative planets like Rahu, Saturn, Sun and 12th house lord, if 3 or 4 of them influence Jupiter, Mercury and Venus, the native may be separated from his speaking abilities. In such cases, the native may not be blessed with speaking abilities. I told you that handsomeness is studied from second house because the entire face is represented in second house and handsomeness is studied through second house. So, for Aries nativities, if Venus is very strong, sitting in second house and well aspected by Mercury or Jupiter or both of them, the native may look very handsome and may have some attractive features in his face. Such people would attract others easily towards them. Now, Let us discuss Marka status of second house. Most of the people who are aware of certain principles in astrology, basic principles, may think that second house and seventh house, both of them are Marka houses. It is a principle which applies on conditions. When we think of Maraka status of second house, you have to remember that the Maraka principle is not a hard and fast rule for second and seventh houses in any natal chart. Maraka principle applies only on condition. In each and every chart, second house should not be necessarily a Maraka house and its lord should not be necessarily a Maraka planet. Please remember, it is not a standard principle. It is a principle that you have to apply conditionally. We are speaking of Aries nativity, Aries ascendant. The second house falls in Taurus and its lord is Venus. If Venus is weak and afflicted under malefic influence, Venus becomes a Maraka planet. If there are malefic planets in second house, then the second house becomes Maraka house. Then naturally Venus also becomes a Maraka planet. So the Maraka principle applies only on condition. The second house or even the seventh house assume the role of Maraka house only if there are malefic planets in second house or even the seventh house or their lords are very weak in the natal chart. In this case, if Venus is weak or afflicted, it becomes a Maraka planet. If there are malefic entities in second house, then also the second house becomes Maraka house. Please remember.